Hey guys, how is everybody doing? And ever since I finished playing 007 First Light, which came out almost a month ago now, I've had this James Bond 007 kind of verge going on to where I've been really in the mood to watch the 007 movies or any of the James Bond. So I asked you guys, which ones would you rather me do? I originally was also going to review all of them, and at the same time, I kind of felt like I maybe should just do Daniel Craig's because that's my personal favorite James Bond. And I was kind of hesitant and I didn't know which one to do, so I left it to you, the audience, to choose what you wanted. And that didn't do shit because it was a 50-50 split. And so I kind of made the decision myself. What I'm going to be doing, I'm going to be reviewing all of Sean Connery's James Bond movies. I'm going to watch and review all of them, and at the very end, I will rank all of his movies from worst to best. And maybe, if you guys like this review series, and if it does good, maybe I'll do more. Maybe I'll review other James Bonds like Roger Moore, Pierce Brosnan, or my personal favorite, Daniel Craig. But time will tell. But as of right now, I'm going to be talking about Sean Connery's movies with the first film of his franchise titled Doctor No, which is actually based off a novel. Who knew? And yeah, I didn't have a real suit, so I have the printed on tux shirt on. Is it petty? Maybe. Is it laziness? Very. Starting off with my positives on Doctor No is this is one of those things where you can't talk about a James Bond movie without bringing this up, and that is the iconic score in this movie. Whenever you think of James Bond or whenever someone talks about James Bond, no matter what film franchise it is and no matter who played him, this score has always been in it. Either it's been modified or modernized, whatever you want to say, this score is absolutely iconic and has been recognized for over years. It is one of the most popular scores composed, and it is one of the most recognizable scores composed. Whenever someone hears this, they instantly think of James Bond. It is constantly referenced in certain projects and like animated shows, or hell, even in Austin Powers, they kind of have like a fun, quickie version of it, which Austin Powers is a parody of James Bond, which would make sense why they would have their own version of this score in it. But this score is just absolutely iconic. Whenever you hear it, you just feel this aura like feeling about James Bond because whenever you hear that score, you will instantly think about the most famous spy that there is. Forget about people like Jason Bourne or I don't know. You can even consider John Wick a spy. He's an assassin. Any other spy that you can think of, like Ethan Hunt from Mission Impossible, everyone will always think of James Bond, and one of the first things they will think about is that iconic score, where whether it is playing during the iconic gun barrel sequence, or when it's just in simple, small little scenes when James Bond is just walking around, being James Bond, being that sexy man that we know him as, and being that smart spy that we know him as, or whatever he just seems to be doing, that score will end up playing. It is iconic. It has been in all the games and even in First Light, I was absolutely pumped when it started playing at the very end of the game because I instantly knew that it had to be somewhere in the game and they included it at the end. This score is just so recognizable and iconic and so catchy to where you can instantly just start singing it from the top of your head. Dun, 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 dun. And of course, we got to talk about the star of the show, Sean Connery. Sean Connery, to me, is kind of the standard of what James Bond should be: smart, quirky, sexy. Sean Connery meets all the standards and criterias for James Bond. And it makes sense since he's kind of the person that created who we know James Bond as. It seems that a lot of people seem to try and replicate or be Sean Connery whenever they play him. I can't remember which actor it was, but I'm pretty sure it was Pierce Brosnan that said that he wanted to add a little bit of Sean Connery to his version of Bond, but also make it his own, which I think every Bond actor has tried to at least replicate something from Sean Connery, and it makes sense. Sean Connery is probably who people think about when they think of James Bond. Usually, when I think of him, I think of like Pierce Brosnan or Daniel Craig because those are the movies I grew up watching. But whenever you think of James Bond, you can't help but think about Sean Connery. He just meets the standard of who this character is, and damn will I say that he is damn sexy. Is that a little weird for me to say? No, because it's true, and I think anyone will agree with me, especially when he takes that shirt off. Oh yeah. And people wondering if I'm gay or not. But anyways, Sean Connery to me has always just been the face of this character. Whenever I kind of think of James Bond, I probably will end up thinking about Sean. Sometimes it will be Pierce or sometimes it will be Daniel, but Sean Connery to me is just a perfect James Bond. He's the perfect mold of this character, I guess I should say. He just seemed like he had a lot of fun and a lot of and you know I it's you can make the argument that Sean Connery made James Bond iconic with the Bond, James Bond.
Mr.
Bond. James Bond.
And the gun barrel sequence and the certain scenes where he's kind of like flirting with the females in the movie, like Sean Connery just is James Bond, and it's hard not to think about him when you think of James Bond. However, unfortunately, the positives end here. So moving on to my negatives. And my first negative that I do have about this movie, and this is something I expected when I went to watch the movie and when I put it on, because this is technically my second time watching it. Because the first time I watched this movie was 5 years ago now, back when No Time to Die was releasing in theaters, and I was really excited for it. And I was like, you know what? That's Daniel Craig's last movie. Let's go to the very beginning of James Bond and watch the very first James Bond because I owned it and I still own it. And I was like, you know, let's watch it. And I watched it, and I didn't really remember what I thought about it, and I didn't really remember my thoughts. So on this rewatch, I was basically getting new thoughts. And one of the things I did actually remember before I put the movie on is I do remember the movie being dated. And I still have the same thought on this movie. Now, granted, this movie did come out in 1962, so maybe I shouldn't be expecting, I don't know, a God-given gift from the 60s, I guess. But I've never really been a 60s guy. I can probably count on my one hand how many 60s movies I like. Psycho is one of them. That's one of them I can name. But I could already know that this movie was going to be dated because it's a James Bond movie, it's a spy movie. We have bigger standards when it comes to action movies and spy movies, and especially James Bond movies, especially now. So I kind of knew that I was going to get that feeling, and unfortunately, I was right because there are moments where this movie does feel extremely dated. Either it's just the action sequences, that's not even a word. Action sequences just being plain bland and not even really being an action sequence and just, simple left hand punches and then the fight's over. Like there's no real shootouts throughout this movie. It's more of a suspenseful film than an action movie, which is kind of weird for James Bond knowing how much good action there has been in these movies. And there's just certain scenes like when someone gets shot, you can clearly tell the blood is just simple red paint and it's very fucking clear that it's red paint. And then when if someone dies, their death reaction is just not very good. And some of the action, not the action, some of the acting in this movie is also not very good. Besides Sean Connery, no one really gives a good performance in this film. And then there's literally a part where James is just driving on the road and he's trying to escape this dude behind him that's obviously trying to kill him or whatever. And the background is just a motion picture of a road just moving behind him, and it's very fucking clear that it's just a moving picture behind him and not a real road. And even the gun barrel sequence, which is awesome and iconic, you can just clearly tell that they just got like a big white banner and just had Sean Connery walk across it, which, yes, that's how they get that shot. But in the other movies, at least it doesn't look noticeable. You can't really tell if that is what they did. But in this movie, you can just see not James, you can see Sean walking across the white banner, and you can just clearly see it behind him, and it's very fucking noticeable. And especially in new 4K films where movies are now in 4K and great quality. So it kind of makes it even worse when you can see all of it, which kind of takes away from the movie, which probably shouldn't rant on too much, which again, it's a movie that came out during the 60s, and we have bigger standards for action movies, but it just bothered me throughout the whole film. And I feel like this movie is kind of repetitive when it comes to the spy stuff, which it's hard saying that because this is one of the first ever real big spy movies at the time. But when you have movies like Jason Bourne, Mission Impossible, and even the newer James Bond movies, and any other spy film franchise you can think of, we always know the twist. Like, oh, he drank a poison drink. Oh, that this guy's here to kill him or whatever. Like the guy that's trying to drive him is actually trying to kill him or whatever. That is literally all in this movie, and this movie becomes too predictable. Like there's literally a point where towards the end of the movie he pours himself a cup of coffee. I'm like, oh, there's a drug in there. He's gonna get drugged and pass out. What happens? That happens. And then there's a scene at the beginning of the movie where this guy is driving him or whatever, and James instantly knows that it's a trap, which at least he's smart. But my instant thought was like, oh, he's gonna kill himself or something. And what happens? He grabs a cigarette and eats it, and he poisons himself and kills himself. Which who could have seen that coming? And then there's a moment where James Bond gets jumped by a bunch of people, which we end up finding out they're just other spies like him. But he still gets jumped, and I called that happening like a mile away. This movie just becomes way too predictable, and it's just bland when it comes to that spy stuff because I'm expecting it. When I've seen other spy movies like this, I already know what's going to happen. Whenever there's a James Bond movie, there's always the love interest. There's always the pretty girl that Bond gets at the end of the movie or is trying to save during the movie or it like gets at the beginning of the movie. Who knows? There's always the love interest. And there is like fucking three of them in this movie. And I can't remember any of their names because fucking James is like a whore in this movie. He goes through these women like they're fucking nothing. Like there's literally one that he sleeps with at the very beginning after he gets done playing like fucking poker with her or whatever, or blackjack, whatever the fuck it was. And then there's another chick that he basically asks out just to, get laid, it seems like, but really he was just trying to get her information out of her. And then they get laid, and then we never see her again. And then this blonde chick, literally out of fucking nowhere, who just seems to be related to Dr. No because Dr. No killed her father, which she just randomly shows up, which why the fuck is she even in the movie? Like, you could have cut her out, but she's just in it for the love interest, and she's apparently the main love interest, which it's like, you just showed up, and like, I don't know anything about you besides Dr. No apparently killed your father, which just comes out of fucking nowhere, and it's just like, well, now you show up in the last like 30 minutes of the movie when you could have been useful throughout the whole movie. They could have made her the main love interest or something, but no, they include two random girls and then this main one which doesn't show up until the end of the movie. Now, there's always good love interest throughout this franchise, but this movie doesn't really have one and it can't decide what it wants. And my final negative is the villain himself, Dr. No. I couldn't tell you a single thing about this guy besides that he wants world domination.
Ray, what do you want to do tonight?
The same thing we do every night, Pinky. Try to take over the world.
What the fuck else is new with a villain? That is the most generic and stupidest shit to me. I don't understand villains that are like, I want to take over the world. Now, if they're written good, they're good. Like, for instance, there's some times where they kind of fuck around with the idea that they want to take over the world. Something like Doctor Octopus in Spider-Man 2, where he says, the power of the sun in the palm of my hand. That's kind of something similar to taking over the world in a way. But this villain, his only motive is, I want to take over the world. Okay, what the fuck else is new with you guys? Now, granted, has there ever really been a great James Bond movie? Not that I really know of, but at the same time, it's been a long time since I've seen James Bond movies. Last time I watched them was like nearly 6 years ago. Whenever No Time to Die came out, that was the last time I watched any James Bond movies. So it's been a while, to say the least. So maybe there are good James Bond villains that I just don't remember. But at the top of my head, there's really no good villains in this franchise, and Doctor No is a great example of that. But overall, guys, I don't mind Doctor No. It's not a terrible movie by any means, but I just don't see myself ever rewatching this movie. Is it an iconic movie? Yes. Did it give us Sean Connery as James Bond? Yes. But that does not immediately mean that it's a good movie. So Honestly, I don't really see the point in watching this movie. If you wanted to go back and check out the original James Bond movies, then go ahead, but you might not enjoy them. And if you want my personal opinion, I just say just watch your favorite James Bond movie besides this one. But what do you guys think about Doctor No? Have you seen it? What do you think about it? Do you like this movie? Do you not like this movie? Who is your favorite James Bond? Let me know in the comments below and we shall talk about it. And if you like this video, like it. If you love it, subscribe with the bell notification so you will get notified for all of my latest videos. And of course, until my next video, see you all next time.